again.
Welcome.
It's Jennifer and Erin. We're back for our third episode of our West Rouge Real Estate, a podcast by Jill's team. If you watched our first two episodes, thanks for doing that. We are going to take a look at the West Rouge market again. We'll look at January, what happened in January, as well as taking a look at what happened kind of since we're starting a new year, at the stats for the year 2023 as a whole. We're going to talk a little bit about what questions you might want to ask when you are hiring or looking to hire someone to help you sell your home. We're going to talk about mistakes to avoid when you do go to sell your home. And then Erin's going to talk a little bit about the Port Union Winterfest festival that she was at. Was it just this past weekend?
Yeah, last Saturday.
Awesome. All right, so let's get started with what happened in West Rouge for the month of January. So, in January, there were 10 homes that sold. 6 of those homes that sold are detached homes. 4 are townhomes. Surprisingly, the lowest sale was actually a detached home. And it was a 3-bedroom detached home. It was in a great location on a good street, but it was in need of some love and updates. But still, it was a really, really great value. That one sold for $862,000. So that was kind of the bottom end. And then the top sale sold for almost $3 million, $2.8 million. So big range in prices for
it's
what.
Nice to see in our neighborhood. That's that price point is good.
Yeah, it's great, and it's nice for people who maybe have kids that have been trying to get into the market that would love for those kids to be closer to home. That we are seeing some of those home sales below the $1 million point. It's a great opportunity right now for anyone who hasn't gotten into the market yet to get into the market and to be able to find something in our neighborhood, something potentially detached if it needs some work, or there's a lot of great townhome options as well that have sold under the $1 million mark recently. So in January, the average sold price for homes in West Rouge was $1,273,000. And the average days on market that those homes took to sell was 25 days. So that was West Rouge. And then if we look at West Rouge for the entire year last year, so all of 2023, of all the homes that sold, there were 163 homes that sold in West Rouge. The average price of those homes was $1,175,000. And the average amount of time it took to sell those homes, their days on the market was 11 days. So if we compare that to Toronto as a whole, where actually our community did better on both fronts, the year-end TREB price finished at $1,126,000. So our average price in West Rouge is about $50,000 more than the average price of TREB as a whole. And the average days on market for the whole all of TREB was 19 days on the market versus our 11. So it's good for anyone who's thinking of selling in our community as well, that we're stronger on both those fronts.
We got a good community.
We do.
People like to live here.
Yes. All right. So of the 10 homes that sold, I was just going to talk about briefly my favorite home of the ones that sold right at the end of January on Star Spray Boulevard. Star Spray is a good street. It feeds into West Rouge Public School, which I know is one of the more popular elementary schools in the neighborhood, and it was a really nice 4-bedroom home that sold. I think it was over 2,400 square feet, and it looked like it was just a house designed for a lot of fun. The backyard had a pool, really big deck and entertaining space. And then the basement as well had a really fun kind of rec room and games room set up. So it seemed like it would be a really good house to host like team parties or stuff like that. If you had kids that were playing sports, it was a really great house.
I like the cathedral ceilings too in the living room when you walked in. It's a really cool design.
Yeah, it was. It's for those of you that know kind of that pocket of homes, there's a few homes that are right on the corner of two streets that have this layout of the one that sold. And it is a pretty unique layout, and I agree. The cathedral ceilings in the living room, you see them when you first walk into the house. Yeah, they're really, really nice. All right. I think.
And there wasn't much inventory low.
Yes.
Not before. I think in previous podcasts we've had a whole list of things to look through, but that's changed a little bit. Things are changing.
Yeah, pretty quiet start to the year, and then we still have. Well, when I printed it off this morning, we had 21 homes on the market, but Erin just said she went to go see one of them and it's sold firm. So we only have 20 homes on the market right now in West Rouge, which is low, and a lot of them, for anyone that has been looking for a home in the area, have been on the market for quite some time. A couple of them, even though they're showing new, are just kind of relisting and coming back out, and there isn't too much kind of new inventory out there for anyone who's looking right now. Actually, before we move on, I was just going to mention briefly, I think in both our previous episodes that we talked about what a great opportunity is to buy right now in the market. Interest rates are obviously still higher, but the Bank of Canada did announce to hold the interest rates, and they're not predicted to have another increase. They should hopefully sometime in the first half of this year start to come down slowly as our kind of inflation rate has hit the target of what they were hoping for. And we've said it is a great opportunity to buy, and it really is. If you have kids that have been thinking about getting into the market for a while, or maybe you have a family and you're looking for something bigger, I think the next 3 or 4 months really are a good opportunity to do that. And once the market does pick up, I imagine things could increase quickly. So we had an interest rate hold in February last year, and there were from February to May, the Bank of Canada held the rates, and even though the interest rates were still higher when they held the rates, average price in Toronto actually increased $150,000 during that 4-month period. So people who bought a home in January of 2023 were buying a home for $150,000 cheaper than people who waited for the spring and the warmer weather and then bought in May of 2023 or June of 2023. So as much as you feel it on a month-to-month basis with the higher interest rate, it could cost you $500 or $600 more a month in the short term. It would take a lot of those payments to make up that $150,000 difference, in what you could have bought the house for if you had got in before kind of that uptick. And, I imagine as soon as the interest rates start to come down, we will see that again, because there definitely still is a demand.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing more buyers coming back out now and looking at things. There isn't a lot on the market, so you are starting to see that multiple offer stuff again, but the result is not like it was before. So you might be in competition with other buyers to purchase a home, but it's not, you don't have to give over everything, firstborn, all of that stuff to get the house. Prices are still relatively conservative compared to the number of offers coming in. So there might be competition when you're looking, but overall it's still looking to be a pretty good time.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Erin was going to talk a little bit about some things that you could ask when you are interviewing an agent. And most people, well, I guess it depends. Some people, when they call a realtor, they have a realtor they've worked with before, or maybe they've gotten a really strong recommendation from a family member or a friend, so they don't end up speaking to more than the one realtor because the recommendation was so strong, or they have a previous relationship with the realtor. But sometimes, people don't have a previous relationship with anyone or don't have a strong connection, and they like to speak, and it's always a good idea to speak to two or three realtors to see what your options are when it comes to selling your home, because your home is your biggest financial asset, and you want to make sure that you're doing what's best for you when the time comes that you're ready to sell it. So I'm going to let Erin continue on with that.
Absolutely. And even if you are getting a good recommendation from someone, it's important to ask the right questions, because usually you're trusting whoever you're getting the name from, and they've had a good experience, so you will likely have a good experience. But it's nice to ask the questions and just get the important information before making a decision. So a few of the things, I'm going to be looking down at notes. Well, if you're listening to this, you can't see me, but if you're watching this, you can. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. You're going to want to know about their experience and their track record. So how many homes have they sold? Things like that. How long have they been in the business? You want to get an idea of how experienced your realtor is, to make sure that they've done the things in the past to make sure that they're going to be able to help you with anything that happens during the process. So experience and track record are very important. Marketing strategies. What are they going to do to market your home? There's a lot of agents that will do the same things. I mean, a lot of us, well, probably 100% of us, put the home on MLS. There are open houses. There are a sign on the lawn. What are they doing differently? How many buyers are they working with at any given time? How prominent are they in the neighborhood? How, do they know the ins and outs of what's going on? Just different ways of marketing is very important to make sure your home gets the exposure that it deserves. Pricing strategy is key, and I feel, not to toot our own horn, but we do spend quite a bit of time on determining the value of the home. We use a lot of data, and we spend a significant amount of time to make sure the pricing is right, because that's the most important detail, probably up there. It's up there with a lot of things. So, and what strategy are you going to use, and which strategy relates to whatever market you're in? Because sometimes the strategy of pricing low, doing air quotes if you're not watching, pricing low and holding a date for offers, if it's not priced within a certain percentage of what the value is, you may not get there. And if there's a lot of things that can affect that, and maybe you're not in a market where pricing low is going to be the best option, and maybe you do need to price where the value is. So client is number one. The person selling their home needs to walk away with the best possible outcome. So pricing is very, very important, which we spend a lot of time on. Communication, also key. You've got your house on the market, there's signs up. What's happening? Who's coming in to see it? What are they saying? What's the feedback? What's happening? Is there anything we can change? Is there anything that's working well? Or is there something that's not? So keeping the agent keeping you up to date with what's going on during the marketing process is very, very important. And negotiating. That goes right up there with the pricing. I think there's a lot of, I think in the time that I've been an agent and Jen's been an agent, there's lots of times where you see money left on the table. I've been in situations working with buyers, getting them a home, and I can't believe that we only paid a certain amount of money and how much money was left on the table. So, good for my buyers, bad for the person selling, but we don't leave any money on the table, and the negotiation skills are so important to getting the best price for your home. Yeah, Google reviews and what past clients are saying. These are great questions to ask the agent if it's not a referral and you don't know who they've worked with. Check them out online. What are people saying? Is it good? Is it bad? Make sure that they've got some good references to go along with everything else. And I think that's it. I think that's those are the most important things when you're interviewing agents, to make sure that they come with all of that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I was just going to add to the last one that most, because we have this wonderful thing, which is the internet, you can get a lot of information about people you're speaking with, or you should be if they're active in the business. You should be able to find a lot of information prior to even inviting them into your home and speaking to them. Most realtors who are doing a lot of business will have their own website. All realtors now should have social media profiles, because social media advertising is a huge way to attract young buyers into your home. Google reviews, which Erin mentioned, like all those things. If you can't find them online, then it's definitely worth asking, kind of, why you can't find out about them online.
That might be a red flag.
Yeah, it might be. For sure. And that ties in to mistakes to avoid when you're selling your home. And I think a lot of what Erin talked about kind of overlaps with this. And I think really there's three kind of big mistakes you can make when you're selling your home. One has to do with your preparation, like how your home is prepared. The other one has to do with pricing. And then the last one has to do with kind of marketing and promotion. And when we see homes that undersell, or when Erin spoke, she mentioned how she, has found really great values for buyers. It's usually because the person on the other end has kind of fallen short in one of those three.
Their marketing was not good.
Yes.
Which benefited us.
Right. One of those big three categories. And, there are some people who want to sell their home on their own without the help of a realtor, just want a company to post it for them and then to manage things themselves. There's lots of different ways to do it, but these three mistakes, you want to avoid them regardless of how you decide to sell your home. So the first one has to do with preparation, and that has to do with everything you do in your house before it actually goes on the market and people see it. So, lots of people benefit from things like a fresh coat of paint and a few little updates throughout the home, which, a good experienced realtor will be able to tell you and give you recommendations of what updates will be able to add value to your home on the market. And doing those things ahead of time is always worth the investment in them, even though there's obviously a cost to doing those things. The other thing is making sure you do a home inspection prior to putting your house on the market. We can't always see, and we don't always know things that might potentially be of concern to a buyer. One that's common with some homes is, finding mold in the attic. And even though technically the attic is a sealed space from the rest of the home, and it doesn't actually present a health concern in most cases, even if the mold exists there, most buyers, when they hear the word mold, get concerned. And it's such an easy thing to fix before your home goes on the market, so that it's not a surprise when someone submits an offer and wants to do their own home inspection that they find it there and then no longer want to proceed with the purchase on the house. So dealing with things like that ahead of time is really important. And then also making sure your house, it seems like a really simple one that should be obvious, but making sure your house is like really nice and clean before it goes onto the market. So making sure you have your updates, making sure you're dealing with any kind of worries or concerns from buyers, and then making sure it's really, really clean before it goes on the market are all really, really important. And usually those things don't just affect the amount of money someone is willing to pay for your home, but also the amount of time your home will have to actually sit on the market. If you don't prepare it properly, usually it takes longer to sell, and most people don't want their home to be available for people to be walking through it for longer than is absolutely necessary. And then the other big thing that goes into that, which Erin spoke about, so I won't go into too much detail, is pricing. Often when we go in, people will say, well, how come this house down the street from us has been on the market for 45 days? What's wrong with it? Why isn't it selling? And we'll explain to them that there's absolutely nothing wrong with the house. It's just the price that it's listed at. That they maybe went out with a price that was a little bit too aggressive for the current market. And even if you're just 5% or even just $20,000 or $30,000 higher than where you should be when you list your home, buyers are smart. They have access to so much information now on their own. They know what houses should be selling for, and if you miss the mark on price, no one's going to buy it. And the longer it sits on the market, the less chance you have of it selling at its optimal price. Once it's kind of on the market for more than a week, people start thinking like, well, maybe something is wrong with it, or I'm going to wait. If it's on the market for 2 weeks, I'm going to have even more negotiating power. So pricing the home right is so important, and that's where it really is of value to find someone with experience and who is very smart with numbers, because as Erin spoke about, there are different pricing strategies that you use in different markets, and it doesn't always make sense to go out at the highest price thinking that you're going to get the most amount of money because that's what you choose to ask for. Different markets require different pricing strategies, and only experienced realtors really understand that. I've heard, and I'm sure you have before, that other realtors say, oh, I don't like the strategy of listing a house way below its value. It's so frustrating. People never know what the value is, and I get it. We get it, because
it is frustrating.
It is, yeah. If you're on the other end of it as a buyer, it's confusing. You see a home that comes on the market, and you think, oh, I can afford that. It's great. But then when you look at it, you realize, oh, actually, that home is outside of your budget. They've just priced it lower to attract attention. And even though that it can be frustrating on the buyer end, your realtor's job, or when you're selling your home, you want the most amount of money for it. So as frustrating as it can be for buyers, it's sometimes a very, very effective strategy when you're selling a home, and at the end of the day, you want the most money because your home is your biggest financial asset.
Yeah, it's our job to do. I mean, and it's in a perfect world, you would price a home at its value is X, and then you would put it on the market at X, and then people would come in and and it would all be just wonderful. But sometimes that's not the best strategy to get the most money for a home, or just to see you don't limit it. There is no ceiling, and it's unfortunate, but our job is to do the best job we can for our clients. And if sometimes that means trying a different strategy and doing something that will get them a better result, that's what we got to do. So, yeah.
Yes. So sorry to those buyers out there that sometimes get frustrated with the list price. At the end of the day, the list price it's kind of an extension of a marketing tool, and it does take a lot of finesse to set that list price properly to get the best results for the sale. And then, so the last one has to do with like how you promote your house and how it's marketed. And again, Erin spoke about marketing and things, and it might not seem like a big deal. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, my house is so great. It's exactly the same as the one, on the street next door that sold for this amount of price. I know I can do this myself. People will see it's the same house and understand that the value is the same. But the reality is One, you have to get people in the door. Obviously, that ties into presentation, but how that home is then promoted with photos, good quality photos, ideally a 3D tour now. Most realtors are offering that, where even if, for example, a family is looking for a home and someone is traveling on business, one spouse can go to the home, visit it in person. The other party has access to photos, videos, a 3D tour, hopefully floor plans, all these things that they can envision the space as well, so that they're able to make a decision on buying a house regardless of both of them being here to see the home in person. And often you see homes that when you go and see them in person, they're actually a lot nicer than they appear in photos, because you do still see a lot of people just taking iPhone photos and using them and attaching them to their listings. And when you see that and the photos aren't appealing, buyers won't ask to go see the home. And when buyers don't even want to come in to see it, when they won't even come through the door, then you're missing out on a huge chunk of the market that won't even have sight lines to your home, because it's not being promoted properly through kind of the best quality photos. And the other piece of that also is how the home is then, so you need the good photos, but also where are those photos being used. So you have your listing on MLS, but where else is it? Is it being advertised on social media? Are you sending out paper flyers to the neighborhood for people who maybe aren't on social media? Who else has eyes on your home, regardless of it being on MLS? Because not everyone is on MLS. Not all buyers are working with a realtor. So not everyone has sight lines just to MLS. It's important that your home is being shared in other ways as well.
Yeah, very, very important. I almost didn't buy my own house because the photos were bad, and my husband and I both nixed it. And then I went through it, and I went, oh, wow, this could work. So very important. Presentation is huge.
Yeah. And those three things seem straightforward: preparation, pricing, and how you promote your home. But there really are so many times where homes get undersold and people don't get the value that they should, because they've dropped the ball in one of those three areas. So when you're thinking about selling your home, you can avoid those three areas of mistakes when you're selling. All right. And then we were going to talk a little bit about the Port Union Winterfest.
Yes. The Port Union Winterfest. I went for a bit last Saturday with Ricardo from our team, and I blown away by the vendors. We were there. We were handing out some Jill's team bags, which were very convenient because there was a lot of shopping to be done. Poor Rick didn't realize he was my shopping date after the bags dragged him along to all the booths. They're just the activities, and a great turnout. It was drizzly, but so mild. I mean, we're talking about a spring market in better weather. The sun is shining today. I'm wearing a spring jacket outside, my running shoes. It's like February 2nd. It's did the groundhog see his shadow today? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know, actually.
Oh
I didn't check that. I'm sure the kids will come home and tell me about it. That's usually a hot topic at school.
I feel like spring's here. I feel like whichever way works, that spring comes early is hopefully what happened today. But it was an absolute amazing turnout. A few of my favorite things from Winterfest. Kelly, Baked by Kelly. She sells gluten-free, keto-friendly baked goods, like sugar-free, all this amazing stuff. You can find them for sale in Rouge Kitchen, and then she sells them herself. She did cake cups for my husband for his birthday.
Oh,
he
nice.
like sugar. But they don't even taste they taste like there's sugar in them. Rick bought as well, and he loves his sugar.
And he has a sweet tooth, exactly.
Amazing stuff. There was hot sauces that were there that were incredible, and there was a boy who couldn't have been older than 10, and he was knitting hats and selling them. I bought one. They were incredible. I couldn't believe, like, he was so young. His whole family was helping him out. It was amazing. So it was an awesome event. Really, really nice. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I will have to make sure I get there with my kids this year. I have 4 kids, and my youngest is 2, and I wasn't brave enough to venture out with all 4 of them in the wet weather this year. But next year, when they're all a year older, we will definitely have to get out and check it out.
Yeah, it was great. Very good.
All right, that is it.
Yeah.
We've got through our agenda list here, our notes that we keep kind of glancing down at if anyone's watching.
Yeah. Don't miss anything.
Yeah. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, once again, you can, just a reminder, you can find us on Instagram at Jill's Team Real Estate. You can also find us on Facebook. You can find us online. We have a website all about our team and services. If you are starting to think that maybe this spring you might be interested in doing something real estate wise, and we will be back again next month, either next month, probably in the next couple months. We might get our staging team on here to chat with us. They reached out and said they would love to join us, and
really
they will
helpful.
have all kinds of tips and tricks for people who are thinking about selling this spring.
Yeah, perfect.
All
That's
right.
really good.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.